like 10K above months.
Downloaded it, I checked the date, July of 2021, and then I left my job in September of 2021.
Since then, I've sold websites, I've pivoted my business, I'm no longer doing social media management.
What has been like your highest month?
13K.
It has literally changed my life.
When you were designing on WordPress, were you charging way less? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, way less. I think my first WordPress was like $500.
$500 for a WordPress site versus like up to $5,000 for a show it site. Welcome back, you guys. I am so excited for this interview. I am honored as always. Here I have Alexandria with me. Thank you so much for being here. I am really fucking excited to just dive deep into your journey, your story, and how it's been becoming a web designer and launching day rates and all the exciting things. So why don't I go ahead and just pass it over to you? Give us a little rundown. Who are you?
So my name is Alexandria Herday. Sometimes I go by Ali. I'm 26 years old. I graduated college at 23 years old with my master's. I did it at nighttime because I was somebody that just wanted to get school done with. But necessarily, I don't think you really need college to do something like this. I'm figuring that out, and I'm glad that I had the education, but you definitely don't need it to do this, which is amazing. I do web design, real estate, content creation. But web design I really love because I don't have a career in interior design yet, but it's like a passion of mine. So I kind of feel like web design is like virtual interior design, but for websites in a way.
Totally. You know? And it's such a great niche too.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, why not get into this? It just makes sense. I've always loved technology. But the design side of things, of course, not like all the background stuff. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Honestly, like when you posted that thing about, give me one sentence and I'll see if I interview you. I was like dead sick in bed for 5 days straight. And I was stressing and anxious because, you're an entrepreneur. You just started your business 3 months ago and you're sick for a week. Like, what do you mean? So I was just so sick, and I saw you posted it and I was like, you know what? Let me just say something. So I literally typed that. And then again, my phone was off for the next 13 hours because I was just sleeping. And then when you DM me a week later, you're like, hey, I want you to be, I was like, no way. I wasn't even conscious. I was so happy.
Oh my God. I love it. What made you feel inspired to do it? Obviously you were at a low point, not feeling great. What was that initial pull to do it?
To message you about it?
To be on the podcast.
Oh, honestly, I mean, I love how authentic you are. Your brand, you're just so authentic and real. And also, just seeing other testimonials really pushed me to do this, career, this business. So I was like, I want to be a part of that for somebody else, to be like, oh, wait, I can do it too,
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really the name of the game. It's why I show up. It's why I do these student interviews. It really is showing the potential of what's possible out there. And I think it's so great to have people leading that and showing no, this is so possible. You can do this. And that's great to hear that clearly it inspired you to take action. I love it. So, okay, let's go back in time a little bit. You clearly are a multi-passionate person. You have many things going on. Seems like a high performer, high achiever. Got your master's by 23. That's incredible. What led you to web design specifically, to be a part of your world of a lot of things?
So before I was doing web design, because I've only been doing it now for 3 months, right? So before I was actually running my family business for 7 years, which was in air conditioning, which is not a passion of mine at all. But I was working there since I was 19. And then when we started the business, we were doing $300K a year with 3 employees. And then when I just left now, we were at 3 million with over 25 employees. So I was part of that, I was part of that growth. And I thought to myself, okay, if I can grow a business that I'm not passionate about, then what can I do if it's my own business and it's something I actually love to do? So then I was thinking, okay, what is something I can do that's going to be the least cost when it comes to starting it, right? But it can be the most profitable, And then I'm praying to God, okay, give me an idea, something. I love to travel. I've traveled since I was 9 because my mom used to work for the airlines. So we'd fly for free. So I would go to like Spain, all these places super young. So I always said like, I want to travel and like work from wherever I'm at. And then boom, the next day you're on my TikTok talking about your kitchen because, you know, I love interior design. So that's all over my TikTok. And I was like, and then somebody put in the comments like, what do you do for a living? And then you put like a reply video and then you're like, oh, I do web design. I travel from I can travel. And I'm like, well, there's my answer. Okay. So then I found you.
Universe. Thank you, God.
Yeah, literally. I was like, there was my answer, like right there. So then I would start looking at your profile. I bought the CEO Show It first. And then I was like, oh my gosh, she's giving all this value. Like, that's kind of crazy. I was like, wow, this is like a whole manual, you know? And then I was like, okay, let me get, I got the library actually before I got Wealthy Web Designer. I got the library because with CEO Show It, I feel like I learned so fast how to use it. And then I'm like, oh, if I had the library, I can make my own website really fast. So then I was like, let me get the library. And then I got Wealthy Web Designer. So basically I was watching Wealthy Web Designer while building my website, like with the library. Because my whole thing was like, okay, I gave them like a month notice for me to leave. So I'm like, I have a month to like prepare and launch my business because I don't want to be like, oh, I left my job and I don't have any like business yet, you know? So that's why I was like, okay, like, let me just do this. So it was a lot of late nights and, you know, in the kitchen. I know my fiance knows your name. He knows you guys because he hears your voices while I'm like there in the kitchen playing your video again. Yeah, literally. So, but it was awesome because again, you give so much value in the course and I'm like, oh, how's she selling it for this price? It's amazing. Like, you know, definitely worth it. And I've never like bought a course online in my life or taken anything unless it was required, you know? So that's why I was like, okay, well, this took the stigma away from my brain of being like, is everyone just trying to do a pyramid scheme? Because I'm like, this isn't though. You know?
Totally. So. Yeah. Well, I love that because you also got Designer Day Rate, which that's like how we've connected in the DMs of hearing about your wins from day rates.
Yeah.
Up to then.
Yeah. So after Wealthy Web Designer, I was like, you did the sale and design day rate. So I was like, okay, let me get that too. And then, I mean, it was just perfect because I love how you put all the like curriculum, like, okay, here's the process. You know, it's like, I already know how to build a website. I have the library. Like, I need to know how is she really getting this done in a day or if I want to do it in a week, you know? So I've been doing like a website in a week more than in a day because I have so many different things I'm doing that I'm like, okay, let me give myself a week, you know? Really, I'm finishing it in like 2-3 days, but I'm giving myself a week because under promise, over deliver, you know? That's the way we have to do it. So yeah, so now when I spoke to you the first time, I sold like I guess you could say like a custom website, which was only like 8 pages ended up being for $3,000 because first she paid me $2,500 cash, but then she's like, oh, can you do my logo? Can you set up my Shopify for me? Because she didn't want to like just go on Shopify and set it up. So she's like, so I just was like, okay, well, it's this, it's that cost, you know? Yeah. So yeah, so it ended up being $3,000 cash. So I was just like, that's really good for like for an 8-page website, you know?
Really amazing.
And then after that was, I sold a website in a week, which was only like the 5-page website for like $1,900. And then I sold another one because $1,900 I charged because they were doing like 50% down and then 50% like when we were done. And then before I transfer everything, of course. And then the next one I sold was she paid everything up front. So it was like $1,800 up front. So yeah, I mean, and again, I love the website in a week because it's like, okay, it's 5 pages. I'm using the library, I'm customizing it. And it's just like, but it's so mind blowing to me because I'm like, wait, this is like literally taking me like a day or two and I'm getting this much money. Like,
isn't it crazy? It really is almost, it's weird to say this, but it feels sometimes like you're printing money.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, how is this even possible? Like, especially when you come from a world where you see people literally like trading their time for money and it's at such an hourly base, like the minimum wage in our country, you know? And like, if you compare it to that, it is insane. Like, I get why people are like, no, there's no way. That's an MLM. That's a scam, whatever. Like, I understand how people can get that because it is so wild. It like unlocks this whole new potential.
No, I know. When I first I was working for my family business. So I was working on all this, like not saying anything to them. And then after I had the business, everything set, because I don't like to tell people stuff until it's like done. So it's like, okay, it's done. This is what I'm doing. And then when I told them, they're like, oh my God, that's so smart. We were worried you were going to like do something else. Like everybody needs a website. This is a no-brainer. So it's like they almost couldn't be mad at me because they're like, wait, this is genius. Like this is perfect for you. Like, you know, so many entrepreneurs, you know, so many people, because it's like in real estate, so many people own businesses. So it's like I'm going to get clients from my other field, you know? So yeah, it was just like a no-brainer. So they're like, wow. And then I'm like showing them like your stuff, and they're like, oh, this is like perfect for you. And I was like, yeah. So,
did that feel validating at all? Like, were you nervous that they weren't going to be supportive? Or
I mean, I was just nervous because I was the vice president, so I really wore like so many hats in the business. So that was my first thing, like, oh, they're gonna, you know, first freak out because they're losing like someone big in the company. But then I was like, they're also gonna freak out because they like, it was my dad and my brother, so it's like I'm my dad's daughter. He's gonna be worried, like, okay, how's she gonna pay her bills, like this and that, you know. But then when I explained everything, like, okay, I'm gonna have this company, I put it like, I took your guys' advice by picking a general name, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have real estate under it, web design under it, maybe interiors because people want to pay me to do that, and then event content creation. So then eventually I'll have girls and I'll train them because I used to do that, and have employees, and then they can make the websites while I'm doing the other stuff. But I'm having a general name for this purpose. So I'm like telling my dad this whole plan, and he's like, oh, you really thought this out. Like, and I'm like, well, yeah, the last like month I've been taking courses, like doing all this at night. Like, I'm not just quitting my job after 7 years with no plan. Like, of course, you know, and it kind of made him like, oh, okay. Like nobody, after like my fiance's family found out, my friends, which, you know, people freak out because you're planning a wedding. So they're like, oh, is it the best time to quit your job? You know? But after like they were all, no one said like, you're crazy. Everybody was like, oh, that's perfect. Of course. That makes sense. Everyone needs a website. Everyone has businesses. It makes sense. So it was very validating. Everyone being like, well, that's the perfect field, you know?
I love that. Yeah. That must've felt so good. Cause I know that, I mean, I've even had the issue where not everyone has been super supportive, especially when I was just starting out. And I know that that's an issue that people have. So that's amazing. And I'm sure it was so freeing to be like, okay, I knew that this was like in alignment with me, but the fact that everyone in my universe agrees, I must really be in my lane. Like this must be really perfect for me.
Yeah, because at first I was like when I would present, I'd be like, so, you know, and I would be like giving all the facts, like she did like $2.5 million last year, and I'm like telling them all about your life, and they're like, and then by the end they're like, yeah, of course it makes so much sense for you, and I'm like, oh, okay, like let me stop over explaining myself then, because clearly everybody's like, it makes sense.
I love it so much. So you, I would say, have niched down, yeah, like to real estate, interior design, or are you kind of?
Well, right now I'm like right now with small businesses for the most part, like entrepreneurs. I'm trying to female small business entrepreneurs because I go to a lot of networking events, but I only promote at the networking events web design. I'm not promoting real estate because I really just do real estate for like close friends and family, but I'm really just promoting web design. So that's been good because then I'm meeting like estheticians, women that own bakeries, like different places. So my goal is like working in a women industry because with air conditioning was male dominated, which I didn't like. So I'm like trying to get away from them and stick to women business owners and like creative businesses, you know?
I love that.
Because that's so fun.
Where are you located?
Miami.
Okay. That's a great place to network in person.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm so glad I live in like a hot spot because I'm like, and we travel a lot to like LA and stuff because my fiance has family there. So, you know, then I meet people there. So I was like, this is such a good niche because Miami's such hustle culture that it's like everybody's like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I'll pay you to do in 5 days. Thank you. Like, you know.
Yeah, totally. 100%. I'm curious, has there been struggles that have come up in the last few months? Learning, building the business, booking the clients, making the money, like anything that has come up that you have had to kind of work through?
I would say the deliverables can kind of take long, like, and really it's the pictures thing. And that's why I started offering content too, because I'm like, okay, they don't have good pictures for the website, but they want good pictures because they don't want to have me build it and then like pay me later to add stuff, even though I send the manual when I'm done, but still. So I'm just like, they'll have all the copy done. I use Asana. So they'll have like everything on Asana ready, but then they don't have their pictures. And I'm like, okay. So then I started saying, okay, I'll offer you a content shoot. I'm charging, I'll be like, oh, I'll come for 2 hours. It's $595, like $600, and I'll come take pictures. And I just use my Canon G7X and I just like go take pictures and then it's done. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like now I can do my job. So that's really why I started offering that. The picture has been good.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I always recommend people spotting the needs of their clients that would make your job easier and then filling that void. So
yeah,
exactly what you've done. That's so smart.
And then the Shopify, when she's like, oh, I'm not good with technology. Like I even sent her a Loom, like, oh, this is how you set it up. Like, it's not that hard, but she's just like, can I just pay you to do it? I'm like, okay, it's $300. She's like, okay, like whatever, it's going to take me like an hour, but I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I love it. Well, so a lot of people who watch these interviews are, like you said, the ones that are looking for the motivation and reason to take the plunge and like believe that it's possible for them. What would you say to someone who's in that seat watching this that's just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if there's people that will pay me and I don't know if I can be successful. What would you say?
So building the website itself and website design, I think that's the easiest, especially because of you, like all your courses and teaching everything for sure. The hardest thing is the sales side. And the whole thing is like when you're selling the website, you're not selling them the website. Like nobody asks me, oh, do you do code? No, like you're selling, I'm going to give you a solution and I'll get it done in a day, or I'll get it done in 5 days or whatever, 10 days, whatever. And I'm going to solve your problem of you having this old looking website or you not having a website at all. That's the biggest thing. And then you're gonna be able to make money and here's your return on investment when you're done with the website. And so that really just for everybody, like has make them lights go on like, okay, she's gonna fix my problem, So that's the biggest thing. It's definitely possible. You're just learning the sales side of it, I think is the biggest thing, which I know you said you're gonna start courses and everything on that. And that's so great because I feel like that's really needed. Like when I go in the circle on the app, I feel like most of people's questions are like, how are you guys getting clients and stuff?
Yeah.
And really it's utilizing your existing network because all of my clients are either I met at Pilates, one lady, I met other people from church, I met other people from family, friends. So it's really like utilizing your existing network and referrals.
Yeah, I love that advice, 100%. And then, there's obviously so many strategies and techniques going online, which is your plan to expand online or is your focus in person?
My plan is to start doing like, I just ran a meta ad. So it's like in process right now. Like yesterday I was like, let me just do this ad for now. It's like my first paid advertising, because right now I've just been off referrals and networking. But I think I'm gonna do a combination of both like online and in person. Because I feel like online is good if I want to get people like maybe they don't even live here, and then the people that live here, like they want to meet you and stuff. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think both is good.
I love that idea. What are your future goals? What are you working towards?
So my future goals, I just went to a networking event and I literally they had us do like a vision board activity and they're like, oh, like vision out like what you want. So I wrote like, okay, in the next 3 to 5 years, I would like to be making like 30, 40K a month. I want to have 3 to 5 employees. So I'm like writing everything I want to do. And then like they had us read it, but they only had like 3 girls read and I wasn't going to read, but the lady was like looking at me like, can you read yours? Because I was talking to her before she was speaking. So I read mine and when I'm done, like all the girls are clapping and I'm like, what? And the lady's like, you see how she like actually wrote down like what she wants and like how she plans to get it. Like that's what you guys have to do so you actually can have those things, And then after the event, like they're like, oh, like go talk to everyone you want to talk to before you leave. Like don't leave here and not talk to people. And then I look up and there's like 8 girls in line to talk to me, like a line. And I was like having imposter syndrome. Like, why is there people in line to talk to me? Like, this is so weird, And they were just asking me questions like, how'd you get into this? And, I would like showing them your stuff, like, oh, this is Becca. Or they would be like, oh, asking me advice about their businesses and stuff, But it was just like, wow, like when you talk about imposter syndrome, like a lot on your profile, I'm like, I can relate. Cause sometimes like people will ask me questions and then I'm like, what do you mean? Like, isn't this common knowledge? Like, but it's not. But yeah, future plans, definitely like I'm growing my network on social because I feel like there's money to be made that way, like content, and then website design, like just scale it where I'm having other girls doing it and I'm checking it. So I was really happy when you did that call, like showing us, your process and how you included that person like in the group chat with the client, because I would also kind of second guess on that. Like, should I do that? Or are they going to think like, you're not doing the work, but like, no, you have a team, like you're welcome, So I feel like that, is really good, like advice that I got from you about, you know, because I know how to run a business, but it's an air conditioning business. It's like a different feel, you know?
Different.
So now it's like, this is a whole different thing. But again, you share so much with your courses and your socials that it's like, you make it easy, honestly.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. This is definitely going to be so inspiring for people, like, especially for the people that see, like, that dream like you do. I think that's what's most inspiring, is you so clearly see a path, and the path that you want to take and how you're going to get there, and that you saw an opportunity with web design. But I like to always say that web design is just the vehicle. It's like just the vehicle to get you to what you want and what you want your life to look like, and how rich your life is. And, you know, you want employees and you want this and that. And like, I think that's so beautiful that you allow yourself to really think about those things. And I hope that even this episode gives people permission to do that, because I think not people don't do it enough. Like, we need to be dreaming about what's next and what's bigger and better. And then, like you said, like putting the action steps to making it happen. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I feel like also women don't do it enough. Like, they don't let themselves dream, and that's a big thing. Like, whenever I talk to friends or people and they're like, I don't think I can do it, I'm like, who said you can't though? Like, you're the one standing in your way, you know? And sometimes, like, whenever we get in our own heads, like, we do it to ourselves too. Like, oh no, like, what's gonna happen? You can't do that. And then I'm telling myself, like, you're the one telling everyone that they can do it, so why are you telling yourself that? You know, to try to remind myself.
True. It's so true. It's like, you have to become your biggest cheerleader. Like, your greatest asset is your mind and what you believe you can do and what you tell yourself to do. And if you're in the routine of saying, oh, I can't do it, or oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, that won't work, it probably will become the reality. But if you tell yourself, like, no, I'm fucking amazing, I'm kick-ass, I can do that. Like, if this person can do it, I can do it. And if you have that mentality going through life, I think it will really benefit you.
Yeah, and just like putting things out there. Like, I literally had wrote on a paper, like, when I first started, like when I watched your interview with Morgan, I literally said like, okay, I want to get to a point where I'm making $20K a month, and then like she'll let me go on her podcast. Like, I think that would be cool. I've never been on one before, but I've always wanted to. And then when you messaged me, I'm like, wait, I'm not even there yet, and she's like gonna let me be on this? Like, that's crazy. Like, I just said, like, I put it out there and it came sooner than I thought it was going to, you know?
Yeah, manifest that shit.
Yep, that's what you gotta do. That's what you have to do.
I love it. Well, where can people come hang out with you? What's your socials?
Instagram, Deluxe Reality. TikTok, Deluxe Reality. I like to post a lot of like lifestyle content on TikTok, like just fun stuff. And then my Instagram is more like work stuff, but fun stuff too. Like you say, it's good to have a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, also, if you're watching this, everything is linked down below if you want to hang out with her on Instagram, TikTok. Go be friends with her, because she's amazing. And thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun. And I'm just so appreciative and excited to watch your journey and watch you get to 20K months.
Yes. Thank you for everything you do. I know you have such a big community, and I know it's like a lot of work, but it's worth it. Like, what you're doing is so purpose driven.
Thank you. That really means so much. Thank you. Well, I love you. Mwah.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.